Do I tell my ex partner I want to move on after our relationship hasn't been talked about in over a year? Hoo boy. Hi y'all. I do want to preface this by saying that if this is a little everywhere, I apologize. This is a situation that has been on my mind for some time and could really use the advice. I, 22M, and my partner, 25F, had a bit of an unusual start. For the sake of anonymity, we'll refer to them as F. We had met in college when I was 19, near the beginning of the fall semester from some mutual friends, and started talking a bit more around October. I'd come by F's place on the weekends every now and then to hang out or for a smoke session. We'd just shoot the shit, crack jokes, talk about some of our interests, etc., but over time the conversation started to feel a bit more flirtatious. Eventually, push came to shove, and we had an official date about a month later and were finally a couple. It's a night that I'd never forget for multiple reasons. The first being that I had finally felt a connection with someone that truly felt as if they knew me. I felt seen. I felt attractive again. I felt like the me that I missed. The other being that after I laid my head down to sleep for the night, I woke up almost instantly, realizing that I had then cheated on my girlfriend who lived back at my hometown, who we'll call him M, and I broke up a few days later when I went home for break, and F and I started dating afterwards. Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, a couple of big things I have to address. 1. I know I fucked up. I fully messed up in that situation, and I know that and realize that. If I could go back in time and do it all over again, I would. I don't like myself for doing what I did, but accepted immediately that I was going to be the villain in the eyes of my and M's friends. 2. I had openly talked about my relationship with M to F before and some of F's friends, and were aware of the relationship I was in. However, I was not happy with my relationship with M. Her stepdad hated me and kicked me out of the house on multiple times for things I never did that claims I had. She refused to stick up for herself against her mother, refused to negotiate with me about issues that I was having in the relationship, and even went as far as throwing his hissy fit in the middle of our shift at work when she found out I may potentially be away for a summer to pursue a dream of mine. It felt like I was being used for my money, time, and sex. There were lots of red flags that I never got to address, and it showed in the way I talked about him to friends at college. Over time, I became infatuated with F while we were dating. They introduced to one of my new favorite hobbies, cooked together, became super interested in their family, friends, and their passion for psychology, and even taught me bits and pieces of psych and art. We would blast music from my car and dance in the rain from time to time. We'd clean each other's personal spaces when one of us would be gone for a while. They made me feel good about my insecurities. I'm a big guy, pretty decent dad bod. I'd never felt good about my weight or practiced body positivity, but they'd compliment me on my curves. Became each other's muses, and we co-parents to a cat, which I always knew was going to end up being theirs. I truly, truly loved F. I gushed about them to everyone, and eventually came to the conclusion that I wanted to marry them. They were my best friend, and frankly, that's all I wanted. To marry my best friend. About a year or so into the relationship, F moved back to their hometown after graduating from college. It's about a 3-hour drive from where I live. We continued to date long distance like this for a while, and on occasion, she'd come down to visit me and our friends for a few days, and I'd come up to see them over a weekend since I was still in classes. Things stayed like this for a while, and the relationship felt very good, or at least I thought it did. While out of the country on vacation for a few weeks with my parents, I get a couple of strange texts from F on my last day abroad. Upon questioning F, I found out they'd been thinking about asking if we could take a break from the relationship. She said she still loved me, but felt it hard to maintain the relationship since we lived 3 hours apart and were in vastly different places in life. They had graduated and were trying to get their foot in the door to pursue their degree path in the workforce, and I still had a decent amount of time before I graduated and got my degree. We had talked close to the beginning of our relationship about this kind of thing on the off chance it would happen, and lo and behold, it happened. We were both okay with the outcome if it would happen, but never thought it would. That night after we'd come to terms with it all, I went out bar crawling and bawling my eyes out, only to end up finishing the night in a bar named after them. Flash forward to now, oversighting the vast mental spiral I went down for months afterwards. We had discussed at the time talking about the whole thing when I was back in the States, but it's been almost 2 years since that happened. Since we went on a break, I rapidly stopped hearing from them. They rarely ever text me anymore or check my social medias. We never hang out online anymore, as since they've moved back, they found another group of friends and hang out with them more. Regardless of all that, there were a lot of things that got lost in translation. F told when they'd come down, we could still see each other, but that never happened either. The relationship has no label. They never come down to see me anymore. They don't talk to me anymore. I know they still talk to everyone else in the friend group I was a part of with them down here, but never seem to talk to me anymore. They also kept our relationship hidden from this group friends since F's ex used to be friends with all of them, but even after all of them stopped talking to that ex, they never told them. As far as I'm aware, none of my friends there knew we were dating and still don't know we used to. They even had other partners that I didn't know about until almost 6 months into the relationship. I knew they were poly, but didn't know there were still others they were seeing. One of them I used to live with and also used to be an ex of F's. I knew they were exes, but didn't know the rest of it. The other one, F's roommate told me about, and when I brought it up to them, originally lied about, but told the truth to me about 5 minutes later. She felt bad about it and started crying, but something about these interactions always stuck with me. There hasn't been a single effort that's been put forward to try to help this relationship or even a hint as to what's going on since then. No phone calls, texts, Discord messages, nothing. Not a single word of intimacy or reassurance. None of it. Hell, I haven't heard the phrase "I love you" come out of their mouth, platonically or not, once since then. I've finally been able to take the time to grieve over the relationship, and after having a very rough conversation with a close friend of mine, the relationship truly needs to come to an end. Nothing feels the same anymore. I always would harp at people that the key in any relationship is the relationship between give and take. You can only give as much as you take, and you can only take as much as you give. Until recently, it only felt like I was giving and never receiving. It burnt me out. It felt like I wasn't being seen anymore, and after asking questions to make sure things were still okay, they'd take days to get back to me. There'd even be weeks of dry spells where I just flat out wouldn't get a response to anything I sent. It's starting to feel like my previous relationship. It's not just a case of losing someone that I thought was going to be my life partner, but I lost my best friend, and that's even harder to deal with. I feel as if I've just been put on the back burner. It feels like they don't care at all anymore. I want to move on. I'm tired of feeling miserable and held back by the restraints of this past relationship with F. I don't want to cut them out of my life completely as I know they're still rather supportive of me, but I don't want to just pick up and go off and start something new without saying anything. I feel as if they deserve to know, but if they don't have the decency to give me anything after all this time, and I still don't have answers, then do I really need to ask questions to answers I already know? If they've denied me closure, should I be obligated to tell them if all they've done for the past year or better is leaving me in limbo? Or do I move on quietly? I've been milling on this for the past month or better, and am just hoping to find some clarity and to move forward since nothing's been happening. TLDR, partner wanted to take a break in our relationship while I was out on vacation. We both agreed, and now it's been almost 1.5 years after we broke up, and our relationship hasn't ever been brought up, nor has the idea of starting it back up. I'm angry and tired of the situation and want to move on, but don't know if my partner deserves to be let know. Through my eyes, if you don't have the decency to give me any details about us, our relationship, you in general, nor make the efforts to reach out or gave me the time of day to grieve our relationship, then why do I deserve to tell why I want to move on, if you've clearly already done so without me knowing?